It seems like we have a problem in the Star Wars universe. Is it the Force or is it the dark side? Join the dark side or die. Let me stop playing here. What's up, people? What's up, people? Another beautiful day. Yeah. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good or excellent. What? What's up, gamers? Alright, listen to this. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the remake, trailer, and tweet removed. Knights of the Old Republic potentially canceled after PlayStation remove announcement. Well, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake was announced 2 years ago at PlayStation Showcase. This remake was an anticipated project hoping to revitalize BioWare popular 2003 release through a modern rendition. However, the game has been missing from gaming industry since then. Apart from a few reports about the development hurdles, adding to such report, recent discussion about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic have pointed to a concerning fate. PlayStation appeared to have delisted the trailer for the remake on YouTube. Why it matters? It is not common for PlayStation to remove all mention of an already announced game all of a sudden, pointing to a concerning announcement coming soon. As noted by fans on Reddit, the game trailer on PlayStation YouTube channel is no longer public. Articles with the trailer can still be found, but the video no longer be played in such articles. However, the trailer is still viewable through different channels on the website. Nonetheless, fans have speculated the remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic has been cancelled. The project was previously led by Aspire, but recent announcement confirmed that the studio had moved on from the remake. It says, adding to the concern, PlayStation has also deleted its official announcement tweet, which was shared by Aspire in 2021. Then it says, the latest report about the project suggests that it had been handed over to Saber Interactive. It was understood that PlayStation had a major role in the game production, but the gaming giant did not like its direction under Aspire. At the time of the announcement, the trailer stated that Knights of the Old Republic was still in early development. However, Saber Interactive and Aspire parent company, Embracer Group, has experienced several issues since then. The company recently laid off many developers, shutting down studios like Volition Games after failure of Saint Row. It also warns that Volition Games would not be the last of its closure after recent downsizing efforts. Therefore, the remake may have been cancelled due to unsatisfactory result and such measures. Nonetheless, an official announcement is yet to be made. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic was originally released 2 decades ago, and it celebrates as one of the greatest gaming adaptation of Star Wars. The franchise has found new popularity in the industry today, with games based on IPs in development from Ubisoft, EA, and more. This anticipated remake was expected to add to the ongoing success, but the latest incident has led to doubts about the future of the remake. And that's the end of the article. This article is from Tech for Gamers. There's another one from Gamers Rant. Knights of the Old Republic. Cancelled. Well, this goes back to EA. To me, this goes back to EA though, because EA was in a privilege. EA was in a very privileged position, very privileged position. They had the rights to Star Wars. EA was riding on a wave, and they had the right to Star Wars. They had the rights to Star Wars to themselves. That means that no other studio could make a Star Wars game. That's what it meant. And all EA had to do was continue making Star Wars games. That Knights of the Old Republic announcement, EA should have took up the tab on that when they had the rights to Star Wars, and do a remake on it. you know. But they made Battlefront, and they made one key error in all this. Is when they put loot boxes in Battlefront 2, and the fans found out about it, and the gaming industry, meaning the internet, went off on EA, and EA lost that privilege. Disney took the privilege away from them. Instead of them stopping themselves, and correcting the mistake, they kept going with it. So when they went to go challenge Europe, that's when they lost the rights. So this all falls back on EA though. Knights on the Old Republic, being made by Aspire, and then Sony not liking the project. That happens in the game industry. They didn't like the direction it was going, but that now also goes back now to EA because of the position they were in. Whatever they could have made any Star Wars games they feel like they could have remade so many Star Wars games if when EA had the Star Wars license, like Rebel Assault 2. They could have did a remake on that. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and a whole Dark Forces. They could have done all that, and whatever concern the Star Wars fans have, they would have been met because EA would have been putting those games out on a regular basis. But the moment they made that key mistake, man, when they put loot boxes in Battlefront 2, and they should have catch themselves like, you know what, we can't go down this road. But when they took things even further by challenging the European Commission, Disney just stepped in and took that privilege away from them. Okay, they had time to catch themselves like, look, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this. You know what? Let's like make an apology and continue to do what we're doing. We still got the license. But once they took it a step further, Disney stepped in. But as far as this game being canceled, and then with the Embracer Group situation now, with studios being closed down and people being out of work, and then Sony didn't like the project, didn't like the way the project was going. That means EA should have took up the tab on that. This all goes back to EA. If you realize the position they were in, if you really realize how valuable that Star Wars license was, no other studio could make Star Wars games but EA, and they had games to make. They choose not to do it, so this is the outcome of it. So, Knights of the Old Republic coming back out, and the way the industry is going right now. And then you have Ubisoft with their Star Wars games, and by the looks of it, they were sending the wrong mess. The news of that game, I seen a couple of YouTubers tried to cover the game, but all of a sudden, the interest that it drew, it died down because of the whole feminism movement and all that. This all goes back to EA. This whole situation, when you look at from Sony trying to announce that a new Star Wars, they were trying to redo Knights of the Old Republic. Think of the position that EA was in when they had the rights to Star Wars and no other studios can make them. Just think of it. Don't get me wrong, people are still playing Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2 right now. Battlefront 1, they're playing Jedi Fallen Order, they're playing Jedi Survivor. But think of the other Star Wars games that EA could have made. And that money that they were chasing, they would have been got it. They would have been got it. I'm just saying. So, yeah, this all falls back on EA when you look at this entire article, because of the position EA was in. and they were riding on a on a wave, man, because they had just dropped Battlefield, they had just dropped they had Respawn with Titanfall. They had a momentum going, but they made one key mistake. So when this article talks about Sony making their own Star Wars games, nah, this falls back on EA. You can try to talk about Aspire, and you can try to talk about, what's the other studio here? Let's see here. Where's the other one here? BioWare is under the EA umbrella. Come on, man. I'm just saying. Look, what's the other company here? They got Aspire, and then they have where's the other one here? Let's see here. Was it Saber? Was it Saber Interactive? This all falls back on EA, man, because of the position they were in. Anything Star Wars, when you think of it, you got to look at EA like, what were you thinking? What were you guys thinking? Okay, because the Star Wars that Ubisoft is making is based off feminism, man. It's like they're trying to send a message about women in gaming and all that, and nobody said that women don't have a place in a video game. Nobody said it. It's just like Ubisoft is trying to like exaggerating the whole thing. So when that Star Wars was announced, people was like kind of interested, but like it died down. Whatever momentum that Star Wars game that Ubisoft was making, it died. To me, it died. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. So this entire situation now, this whole Star Wars situation, it goes back to EA because of the position they were in. I mean, Disney gave you the right. It's like it would be like what's a good analogy here? It would be like you're a billionaire, and then you give a person like you give a person you trust, like, okay, I want you to take care of this company for me. I want you to take care of it. So I'm giving you this position or whatever the case may be, and I want you to take care of it, cherish it. And then you give it to the person, and you thinking that you can trust the person, but then the person goes and do something completely else. That's the position EA was in. When you look at this whole Star Wars situation about PlayStation announcing, this falls back on EA. Okay? It do. It really does. So, yeah. They were in a privileged position, man, when you really look at it. No other studios can make Star Wars. Right after they lost the rights to Star Wars, all of a sudden Ubisoft want to come out talking about they want to make a Star Wars game. Now think of the position that EA was in, and how much power they had too with that. Disney trusted EA, man. They were like, okay, we trusted you with our Star Wars product. Take good care of it. Yeah. And this is the outcome now. This is just like residue to me. When you look at this whole situation, it's like residue. So yeah, this all falls back on EA when you look at the entire article. You can talk about the Embracer Group. You can talk about Aspire. You can talk about Saber Interactive. But then when you look at the entire situation, you're like, okay, who really had the rights to Star Wars? Electronic Arts, EA. Okay, whatever Star Wars issues that are coming up right now on games not being made or games not being done, it falls back on Electronic Arts. You can try to talk Sony, and they try to get a Star Wars game, and they didn't like the direction that it was going in. And you can try to talk about Saber Interactive, or you can talk about Aspire. But you really need to talk about EA, and this goes back to EA now, and the privileged position they were in. Okay, yeah. So when you're not hearing anything about Star Wars, you're looking at Electronic Arts like, why? Like, why would you go down this road? And then on top of that, they had a chance to catch themselves. Like, you know what? We can't go down this road. We can't go down this road. We can't go down this road. We're going too far with this. But they took it even a step further to go overseas and try to challenge their rules and authority. Disney saw that and was like, okay, took the privilege away from them. Okay, when you look at this whole, you can talk about embracer groups and okay, the embracer group is having their problems. How is EA doing right now? Just saying. Think of the position they were in, man. So yeah, this all goes back to EA when I look at the whole situation. I mean, you can bring up Volition Games, the Embracer Group. You can talk about Saint Row and all that. But this goes back to Electronic Arts. And all they had to do was keep pumping out Star Wars games. Because remember, when they were trying to EA was trying to blame 343. EA was trying to blame 343 for their problems, but it wasn't 343. It was EA. So anything Star Wars right now, when you think of the position that they were in, when you really sit there and think about it, you're like, wow. You think of it. Think of the position. No other studio in the game industry can make Star Wars games except for Electronic Arts, EA. Think of it. When you look at the whole Star Wars scene right now and what's going on, EA was supposed to be pumping out game like a Battlefront 3 or a new X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter or a new Dark Forces or a new Rebel Assault. Think of it. They were the only one that could make Star Wars games, man. Think of it. And they made one key mistake, man. So this article is talking about Saber Interactive, Aspire, the Embracer Group, Volition Games, and all that. But when you look at the whole Star Wars situation, they try to mention Sony, but before Sony, who had the rights to Star Wars? Who really had the rights to Star Wars? Electronic Arts. So whatever problems that's happening with Star Wars games right now, this is just residue effects from the loot box situation. Just saying. So yeah, when you look at the whole situation, man. So Electronic Arts was in a real privileged position, huh? A real privileged position, and they made one key mistake: loot box with microtransactions, man. And yeah, the Star Wars universe haven't recovered from it yet. I mean, sure, we got Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, and then there's another Jedi game that's coming out from Respawn. But when you think of it, when you really think of it, EA was in a real privileged position, man. And those Star Wars games were supposed to be coming out like this, you know? Yeah. I mean, they could have done remakes of Empire, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. They could have done a remake of Return of the Jedi. They had basically, with that position they were in, they had the Star Wars universe in their hand, man. Just think of it. No other studio could make Star Wars games. So when I see this article now and I read through it and I'm looking at all these other players that try to make Star Wars games, you're saying to yourself, okay, where is this all coming from? The one mistake that EA made, man. Yeah. So yeah, they were really in a real privileged position. Yeah, and they were supposed to be coming out with Star Wars games like that. Yeah. I mean, you could try to talk Sony, and Sony didn't like the direction that game was going in, and then you can talk about Aspire, you can talk about Saber Interactive, but before Sony, before Ubisoft, before Aspire and Saber Interactive, who really had the rights to Star Wars? Electronic Arts, EA. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still Star Wars and Star Trek thing, or Dark Side. Go. Peace.